Welcome back. Super excited. A solid understanding of JSX syntax is important for getting the most out of React. And while JSX shares a lot of similarities with HTML, there are definitely some differences. So let's take a look at some of the cool things you can do with JSX. It's a pretty dynamic syntax. So I'm going to go ahead and create a variable called city, and I'm going to set that equal to a string called Madrid, or you can use any city. Then I'm going to go ahead and replace the unordered list with heading 1, and I'm going to say hello from, let's say, the city, right? So we're going to use this JSX template to now add the name of the city dynamically into the H1. You could do the same thing with an object, for example. So if you make the city an object with a name and a country, for example, now you can access those values as you would expect with dot notation. So city.name, for example, is in city.country. Another important thing that you need to understand about JSX is you can add attributes directly to your tags. So if you go to public folder with an Explorer and open up the index.html, for example, and what I can do here is let's just go ahead and just add a style tag, right? So I can do some CSS styling, and just by opening and ending style tag, within the tag, I'm going to add, let's say, a heading, and I'm going to use the ID selector and change the color to pink, blue, green, whichever you want, right? So if you go back to the index file and then go to the heading 1 tag, you can then add the ID to that H1, just like you would do otherwise with an HTML. So the ID equals heading, and then that style would be applied. Now, if you want to add a class, you could also do that. So go back to the HTML, index.html, and then just add .cool-text, right? And just give it a family to Monaco or Times New Roman. And then, of course, navigating back to the code, you can use the class name and then input cool-text, right? So keep that in mind within JSX, you need to use the class name. So if you want to save this, and boom, you see it right here. So you can, in later videos, I'm going to show you other techniques as well, but this is, of course, a handful. So go ahead and practice with this a bunch of times because you would really understand why we're going back and forth, right? So I hope this kind of makes sense. Any questions, post in the discussion area. And with this, let's move to the next lesson.